Everyone, welcome to the Key Games podcast slash, I guess, mini game dev roundtable. We're kind of building things up special for this week. Our topic is going to be discussing the Steam festivals, Nextfest, and kind of what it means when it comes to being an indie developer and marketing your game. So, I've invited on from our other roundtable, Seth Goldberg, to kind of talk a little bit about his perspective as well, doing marketing. And he was actually, I think didn't you contribute to the Tacticon Festival, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so you definitely have some more experience with it than I think we do. But of course, my co-host from Casual Game Studio, Joshua Reyes. So it has been a whirlwind week, at least for me. So I'll throw it to you guys first. How are you two doing in this very hot July weather we're in now?
Yeah, other than the weather, I'm actually doing pretty good. I got myself a one of the best upgrades I've ever bought. I got a Steelcase V1 chair, and the thing has been amazing. So it's a real nice, comfy upgrade. It cost a bit; it was like $600, but totally worth it, and really helping with dev and all that. But other than that, I'm doing great. Seth, how are you doing? I'm really excited to have you on.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Usually it's a different day and different topics, but I'll branch out into as many podcasts as I can. Sorry for no cam. The lighting in my room was atrocious, and I'm only on a very limited internet upload speed at the moment. So you get to deal with my little cartoon graphic or whatever it is, the portrait.
Oh, excellent portrait, though, Seth. Excellent.
It is. It is a pretty good book. But yeah, it's hot. It's like 104 with a heat index of 117 today. Yeah,
And
that's hot.
And we had more
Just
of that
ridiculous.
Death fog or poor air quality here the other day.
Yeah.
So no going outside.
Yeah, it's actually, Josh, that's actually reached us to Ohio. So we have that now too. It was like 2 days ago. Funny coincidence. It was a high pollen count day, right? So I go outside and I'm like, hey, man, this pollen, it looks real thick. And I'm going to my wife and I'm like biting it. I'm like, this pollen's real thick. Later, I found out I was biting smoke from Canada. So yeah, so that was fun. But yeah.
The weather will just turn more and more into Khalid every single day.
Exactly.
For the Elden Ring fans.
Exactly. It's a nice slow journey to it.
When we get the 30, or the 20 feet long dogs with giant teeth, that's when we should be concerned, right?
We know they're there. We know we're there.
But
so are we trying to terraform Mars, or are we just trying to terraform Earth to be Mars?
I don't know. There's the next strategy game, Terraform Earth to Mars.
There you go.
So, with that said, with that lovely intro, it's time to get to our main topic, and that is talking about kind of the rise of this kind of festival marketing that has kind of taken over Steam over, I think it's been 3, maybe 4 years. Again, I am not the guy to ask about time and dates and such.
Yeah, I would say about 3 years is when it's really solidified, post-COVID, right? And then boom, it just really solidified itself. So,
yeah. And the very first festival, it seems such a long time ago. And this was, of course, Steam Nextfest. Then it turned into the various kind of seasonal festivals. There's the Fall Steam Festival, the Winter, End of the Year, Summer, and all that. And then over the last year or so, we've been seeing more indie developers getting together and doing their own festivals, with the likes of Ludonarracon, Tacticon. I know there's been several other ones that my mind is blanking on.
It's a Strategy Con.
Yep. And it has become a very major event when it comes to indie developers and marketing. So I guess that would be a good place to kind of start the discussion with. So let's go kind of like around, and we'll start with Seth, since you have more experience with this than we do. From like kind of like a marketing perspective, as someone who does marketing, help any developers, stuff like that, what has been like your thoughts on like how festivals have kind of come to reshape like Steam and marketing games?
Well, there is obviously something there.
Mhm.
The problem is there's a large level of saturation. We went from them being too small to them being too big almost overnight. It's very strange.
Mhm.
Now, you know, you've got your genre-based ones. You've got like Turn-Based Fest. There's another Turn-Based festival that's mostly going to be dealing with board games that's using the same name, which I thought was interesting. You know, there's Tacticon, Hooded Horse, and Dire Squid Games. And then you've got all the ones that Steam does throughout the year. The Puzzle Fest, the German, every country in the world developer fest. You know, we had Poland Fest, I think, just recently, and Germany Fest, and Asian Pacific Developer Fest.
Mhm.
So, and now there's Nextfest, or there has been Nextfest for a while, and Nextfest is really starting to get crazy when it comes to the exposure it can generate. Although in a lot of ways, that's like hitting the lottery. Especially now when discoverability is pretty horrible, which is, you know, the big problem with Steam. And these festivals were actually designed to counter some of that discoverability problem. And now we're dealing with an environment where, you know, 3,000, 4,000 demos come out on Nextfest. And what are you going to do, right?
Oh, yes.
How do you get your demo in front of people? And I think that's something that we should certainly dive into.
And I will share my thoughts on just the amount of demos I played in the last 2 weeks next, but I want those over to you, Josh. From an indie developer perspective, what do you make of kind of the rise of festivals and kind of like it is almost like seasonal marketing events?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure which way to approach this, like the pros or the cons, right? As Seth was saying, you know, there is something there, right? And it is definitely blown up. You're gonna reveal your game number,
Mm-hmm.
your demo numbers that you've played, and also Seth, you can reveal yours too. And so yeah, so like the saturation point now there is really high, right? Like by all means, like as long as you have a good demo, right? You do your pre-marketing, your marketing during the Steam Festival. You know, you do your streaming. You know stay active, and then after that, you do a post follow-up. It should give you a massive intake in like wish lists. Also just like holistically give you an exposure to people, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
just to streamers, there'll be something for streamers to play. There'll be something for people to play because you have to get into those with a demo. You need a demo, right? And so just having that is going to put you up in a different tier, right? I think so, you know, now the saturation being so high is kind of making it like is next year people are going to be so tired of festivals that they're just totally going to ignore them, right? And maybe one will be paid attention to. Like, does it feel like it's heading to a point where we've reached the apex of them because of the oversaturation, right? How do you get now, like at this next fest, like how did you get your game out in front? Like how was it possible to do that, right? So I think those are some things that need to be keep in mind. Like really, later I want to get into some of the cons about it, but overall, I mean, right now it's the time to do it. If you have a good quality demo, there's no reason not to do it. And as far as them being so many, I think they really kind of need to back down on it a little bit. I do like how there's ones for every countries and stuff like that. The genre ones are needed. Because there's some games that, we've talked about this before. Some games you cannot sell with a screenshot. You actually have to see it played to understand it. So, like the strategy games and stuff, those games need to be shown played to understand it and kind of get it. So it's needed in many areas. But all I can say is it's as of right now, it is a net positive for everyone, for gamers and consumers alike. So, Josh, how? What's your take on it?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm definitely leaning to as what Seth said, that it's a really good way to amplify indie dev coverage. And as you said, like for certain genres, especially like visual novel ones, abstracted ones, where a screenshot doesn't do a damn thing for them, you need that kind of, I guess, a loudspeaker to get people to check them out. One of my favorite ones from the festival was a Cataclysmo, which is kind of like a They Are Billions meets Stronghold style game.
Mm.
And it's one of those games where if you're just kind of like browsing, this is something that, we've spoken a lot about when we do store page reviews, that
Yep.
if you're just browsing and you're seeing dozens and hundreds of thumbnails, a lot of these games you're just going to just blink and not even pay any mind to. With a festival, you can go to any one of those tags and say, you know what, I'm in the mood for a platformer. Here's 87 different platformer games. I want a Metroidvania, I want an RTS. And there's only something to be said about games being in some very weird genres. As we all know, like, the genre tags on Steam can be a little sus in some spots. Like, I've seen a lot of, let's just say, adult games in like the platformer tab or the strategy tab and stuff like that. And as like Seth said, like I think it has gotten a little too big too fast. And as we said, we're going to talk more about kind of like the quality of the demo and what you're going to be putting out there later on in the episode. But it's that case where 7 days is really not a lot of time when you think about it. Again, like, I'm someone who covers games regularly. Like, that's kind of like what I do as a job. I still did not cover, like, I only have even covered maybe like 10%, maybe like 2 to 3% of the number of demos that were available on it. So my official game count, and I didn't tell this to Josh or Seth beforehand because we want to get, like, the live reaction shot here. But I think I came in at just about 115 demos I played in about 10 days of streams.
That's ridiculous.
And I think
that's insanity.
Yeah, I think I'm like on that line. Like, if this was Darkest Dungeon, I think I'm like 9 out of 10 ticks away from a stress meltdown.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
And the thing that you were telling me though is the quality though was really good, right? Compared, like, if everything you played, you were kind of amazed with the quality, right?
Yep. Some of like the last entries definitely had some issues. Like the last like 2, maybe 3 nights, I started to see more of those issues. I was kind of getting some like more like the more, I guess, obscure demos that I downloaded. But like the first 7, 8 days, and someone asked me, well, why don't you just do like one, day covering all the demos? Like, that would have been impossible. It'd be like a hour and a half, 2 hour long video of all the demos I played. Like, there were some fantastic ones, and here's like the scary part. I want to get Seth's thought on this as well, as someone who does marketing along these lines. The 114 demos I downloaded, those weren't repeats. Like, these weren't demos I played previously or I covered previously. These were all brand new demos to me, on top of all the other indie demos I played this year. And it's definitely that situation where it's like, how the hell is someone supposed to actually know about all these games? Like, it does feel like there's just still like way too many games and not enough time to cover them.
So, as a little strategy informer, I learned how to make a massive wish list and follow every game that is genre appropriate, and practically that takes about 70% of my time. So that's really how I learn about a lot of the demos. Is I keep stuff on a wish list, and I'm constantly looking at things. But also, the day that the thing the day that the demo fest happens, is I went through and I downloaded probably about 300 demos. I have 800 gigs of demos on my hard drive right now. there is absolutely no way I will get through them all. There is no way I will be able to produce content on them all. At best, I can maybe get, I'm not as crazy as Josh, where you can do 120 of them, but, maybe I can highlight 20 of them. And if they go away before I get to them, I just cross it off as a loss.
Yeah.
It's just not meant to be me talking about that game right now. Mm-hmm. It's impossible to cover it. Now, I still have games on my hard drive from the first Nextfest. So it's not like it's not getting any better, folks. I mean, we're gonna every Nextfest see more and more and more demos. As I understand it, you can only be in the Nextfest once, which is a good limitation. But how many hundreds of thousands of games come out on Steam every 6 months or 3 months? Sorry. So we're still looking at numbers that are going to be increasing. Yeah. Stuff like Tacticon or the genre-specific ones, they're going with games that are already out as well as ones that are upcoming. So they've been putting in some. You have to have. It has to be 2 years since release, or newer, or a major DLC, or a major update. And no one wants to be excluded, so they're going to keep pushing those limits and try to get as many people in as possible. But I mean, it's just getting to the point already that there's too many. There's too many games to take a look at. And I don't see how that's going to get any better anytime soon. The paradigm has to completely change, but the paradigm's already changed. I mean, it's like we just changed it to this whole big demo thing, what 2 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, before it was, the days of the magazines when you would get the demo discs. I loved those demo discs. I used to collect them, actually. I don't know why.
I wish I still had all those magazines with the disc. That would be amazing.
I would. And, demos went away for the longest time with the internet. And now they're back. And I'm so glad they're back because there's a big problem with returns in an online industry, and that raises transaction fees and all kinds of other nasty little side effects. Plus, with everything being like user-generated reviews, if someone bounces off your game and leaves a bad review, that's a lot worse than it was, with word of mouth. That's not really true, but there's more of an impact that mistargeting your game can have these days. Mm-hmm. So showing people a vertical slice or a demo or 30 minutes of a game can be a wonderful thing to prevent people from bouncing off of it if it's not their type of game. And that's another aspect of these festivals that, from a marketing perspective, is keeping the targeting to the right people who buy it. You don't want anybody returning your game because they're more apt to leave a bad review. Anyway, I went way off topic, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think what I found interesting what you said was about how once you're on Nexus, you're not allowed to be on it a second time. And my brain kind of goes the cynical version of that, all the demos I didn't play, how would I be able to find those games again? Because again, I tried to cover as many of them as I could, and for me, my strategy, I think similar to Seth, is if I see something that's of any passing interest to me, it goes on my wish list. There are games on my wish list I don't even remember adding on at this point. And I will wait for them to come out, wait for a sale, and then I just bought a string of $2-3 games from the summer sale. But trying to get someone to play your demo is certainly a very hard prospect. And what Seth just said about kind of how we're I guess circling back into the rise of demos, I think that is a great thing as well. What do you think about that, Josh?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, at one point, there was no way to get a demo for any game, almost just a few niche, if you were still PC gaming, but I think it's great. do we want to go ahead and get to, so while we're on the topic of demos, do we want to go ahead and get into the demo scarcity about the Nextfest? Kind of start talking about that. I'll just go ahead and get into it.
Sure.
So, I think once you have like a demo provides like so much opportunity and so much coverage, right? It's not just like an individual type of marketing. It's kind of almost a holistic marketing because you get a streamer to play your game and people to watch it. And because if it's part of the Nextfest, if you have good marketing, you have people streaming and playing your game on your page so you can see it and do that. And the thing about dropping the demo after the fest, now this is that we were talking about, Seth and Josh both saying there's so many demos you'll never get to play. And what happens with me and what I do, because I'm a little bit different, is I won't download the demo until I know, well, maybe Seth and Josh both told me, hey, this game is good. And then at that time, I have to have enough time. And usually this festival is over, right? So I go to download it and I can't download it. And guess what? For some reason, that gives me even more negative, like, desire to play the game than anything, because I really wanted to play that game. I did everything I could to get to that Steam page, and I was going to download that demo. I dedicated my time, and I couldn't. And in all those situations, I don't think I even wishlisted the game. It really, like, the scarcity of the demo, I think, like, if you have a good enough demo that you believe can get you on Nextfest and is good for Nextfest, then there's no reason for you to take it down, right? Because there's the after coverage, right, Josh? You have a video coming out with later, and it's going to be like the best of Nextfest. So if, for example, I watched the video and I was like, oh, that's an amazing game, I want to go check it out, but I can't download it, and that's it, and that's where it stops. And so, what do you guys think about that? I mean, about demo scarcity. I don't think, like we were saying, it's so amazing that the demos exist. So if they're a part of the festival and you have such a quality demo to bring to the festival, why would you want to take it down for the post-festival uptick?
So I have actually tried to engage into as many different conversations with developers trying to justify the scarcity of a demo that I can, and try to understand where the thought is here. Because I'm exactly like you. If the demo's gone, it actually leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
And if it was good enough to be there for a week, why not keep it up? Yes, I know it's not representative of maybe some of the updates that have happened. And yes, I totally understand it's difficult to keep versions in parity, but you don't need to. I just want to see a demo of the game. It can be 6 versions behind. I understand it's been 6 months. Anyway, so people tell me that it's because it's not representative of the game at the moment, that they think they'll turn people off because it was just a vertical slice. I disagree with all of that. I absolutely disagree with it. And I think on top of it, they're creating a false sense of scarcity so that people like Josh will be more apt to play it in that opening salvo of the demo Nextfest crazy festivities than 6 months from now. And the demo is still viable 6 months from now. The demo is still viable after the game's out.
Yep.
I don't understand it, and I disagree with it. I've got 23 games right now in my Nextfest folder that are ones that I want to do some sort of coverage of. Those 23 are still available. They haven't been taken down. There's probably about 20 that I downloaded that have been taken down. I haven't checked today. But, like I said at the beginning, if I see a game, that got taken down, I'm not going to rush to play it unless I want to rush to play it. You're not going to force me to rush to play it.
Yep. And I could do a tangent rant about developers who take away press keys or revoke keys after game coverage, but we'll be here for another hour or two just on that one rant from me.
That one was mind-boggling, Josh. I cannot understand it. Anyway.
Hey, thanks for coming to our new podcast, Biting the Hand.
Yeah. There we go. And to Seth's point, I think what you said is really good about like the excuse of a demo, like excuse of taking the demo down. Like the other side of that, like for me, is that if the demo was Nextfest quality, it should be good enough to stay up, until the
Forever.
game is released. Like I can see the point that if this is like year one of our development demo, this is like a 3-4 year project. Okay, maybe. But again, like that's what we're talking about, 3 years from now to take the demo down, maybe do an updated one. But this kind of gets at kind of one of the other points I want to talk about later in terms of demo quality. But the point about the festival is that you are supposed to be showing your game off in kind of like the best light. Like this is again like I have very little real world experiences, but like going to like a very like extravagant market, like a place where the people are selling high quality stuff. Like this is the time to show your game off at its most presentable. If you're releasing a demo onto Nextfest or any of these festivals and it's so poor that you don't want to keep it up, it wasn't ready to begin with to be on there. And
if you were itching to bring the demo down, we were waiting for the festival to end. You weren't ready to get the demo up. Like we'll get into it shortly, but rushing. I think as a dev, later I'll get into that. We feel rushed to get a demo put into the festival, right? Like we believe we have to do it, and that is not the truth. Anyway, sorry for cutting you off there, but yeah.
But I also am glad.
Okay, I was gonna add on to something to that maybe we should discuss too. But go ahead and then pass it back to me if we can.
Okay, I just want to add. I'm glad you said that, Josh, about kind of like the stress of putting out a demo, because it reminds me a lot of like old developers who probably drove themselves crazy when like E3 and we had like the major trade shows and how much you had to spend to get the E3 demo or the E3, main stage reveal of your game going. And that kind of stuff can eat away at your time and resources. Where, if the demo is, or the E3 is like 6 months, again, this is like peak E3, that's, 6 months of your time you're not spent developing anything else. You are making this demo for maybe a 90-second reel, or maybe like 3 minutes on stage. And I know, like, this is one of the points I know we've spoken about, I know at least I have on many other occasions, about, dedicating resources to demos, to showcases, to stuff like that. And it is, unfortunately, one of those give or takes. And like I said, when we talk about demo quality later on, we'll come back to this. But I'll throw over to you, Seth, and then we have a question in chat.
Well, one of the things that we noticed probably earlier than a year ago, maybe even 6 months ago, people were saying that demos cannibalize sales. And I think that's the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard of in my life. Because if your demo is cannibalizing your sale, you're doing something wrong. Because if they're playing your demo and not wanting to buy your game, you've done something horribly wrong. You shouldn't have had your demo out there in the first place. Wave your demo high and wave it far, and make sure that everybody knows about your game. And if they don't like it, so be it. That's not cannibalizing a sale. And even some of the larger data aggregate marketing people were saying that yes, we see things where you should take your demo down. You should take. You shouldn't keep it up past the festivals, and I think we've now seen a 180 for those people. But there are still some developers that think that they're going to cannibalize the sale, and really, that's just such poor thinking. Yeah. Oh well, it's not representative. It's not. We can do better. Well, maybe you should have done better before putting it out. You don't have to hit every Nextfest. I mean, you can't, but maybe you should wait a few Nextfests closer to release, since you've got one shot.
And that is, again, like when we talk about demo quality in the next few minutes. I have a lot of thoughts on that one. Before we get to the question, did you have anything you wanted to add, Josh?
Well, okay, so just back to like keeping, I had an analogy before I forget it about the demo. So like, let's just say that you're let's say you're a food truck, right? Your demo is the food truck, and the product is the food, and then you're at a food festival because this is a festival, right? And so people are going around. Maybe some people come and they get to try your food, and they're walking. They go tell someone else about your food, and you decide. Maybe let's just say you decide, okay, I am shutting down. I am removing all my food. If you want to try my food, you must come right now. And then you close down, and no one came to your shop because you were like yelling at people by the scarcity tactic by removing your demo. And then the people that did try your food, that are walking around at the festival still, or walking around outside of the festival, that could talk about your food, you can no longer go back to that food truck because you're closed. If that's a kind of how the analogy works. But I mean, like, as soon as you remove it, you know what I mean? All the after coverage that's there, and there's no way, again, like Seth said, it doesn't. If you believe it's cannibalizing your sales, it's the game doing it to itself. It's not the actual, like, demos do not destroy sales of a game. All they do is increase coverage. They allow people to play it. They allow people to talk about it, and they only do good things for a game. Usually, if the demo, it's just a bad demo, is really what we're talking about here, right? Mm-hmm. When it's like cannibalizing sales. But that's basically it. Like, you're shutting down your shop. And people who have already experienced it, who are out there telling other people about it, maybe there's the local camera crew who want to come by and like check out this new restaurant that just opened up. Well, we already closed down for the day because we don't want to show off everything, and it's not representative how we're going to be open up in 2 weeks, right? So that's just kind of some analogies there that I thought of, and it's just basically don't create false scarcity, and if you think that it's causing, like, do your pre-marketing, your research, like do marketing before, make sure your demo's up to snuff, next quality snuff, and then do afterwards, and that's basically it. Other than that, it's nothing but net positive for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to that analogy, it kind of reminds you a lot of like when like big business people try to make more like free-to-play design, more like monetization heavy, the whole fun pain element, that we have to make it worse for the person, and then, they'll be more inclined to buy our stuff. And, right. We have Ramin on, I'm sure he could share some stories on that front. But it's that kind of like negative marketing that, like, and I think that's a very important point, like, for this cast, we are talking a lot about this from the indie developer standpoint. This is not, a Nintendo, like, we're not exactly going to be preaching to Nintendo and Blizzard and Microsoft, who, again, like, they have more than enough clout that if they want to say, this demo will only be up for 5 hours on, the second Wednesday of the month, and that is the only time you can play it, people are going to flock to that no matter what.
Right.
If you're an indie developer watching this, and you're trying to get eyes on your game, taking your game down, making it harder for people to find it, that doesn't help you at all. You need as many eyes on your game as possible, because again, it's very much, random, or it's very much completely up to chance sometimes if someone is going to check out your game, if they're going to cover it, if they're going to talk about it. And I think that's a good point to bring in this question from Grumpy Dragon. We will cover all the demos that remain up after the festivals before the next festival comes through. Again, it's that very big issue of how many things can one person reasonably cover. Like, I've been watching some people have been covering Nextfest, and they're covering like maybe one game of video. And I'm just sitting there going, I couldn't do that with my channel. Like, imagine if I just dedicated one video a day to the 114 demos I downloaded. Yes, that is, oh my god, that's what, like about 4 months of videos if I did 7 days a week. But even then, and this gets back to that other point about the time of some of these demos and the coverage. if I cover, and this is one of the issues why I changed my coverage style. If I only cover one Nextfest, like 6-7 games a week, how the heck are those videos going to remain relevant a year and a half, 2 years from now? And it's why I've been trying to be a little bit more speedy with my coverage, and more importantly, trying to do a lot more in terms of indie game coverage when it needs to be. So it has come at the expense of like our podcast and some of the design videos I have. But it's that situation where if I don't cover it now, this video is not going to help anyone 6 months, a year and a half. I still have... Here's that other point. This will also scare both of you. I still have recorded footage of games that I played for my weekly indie showcases from June of last year that I have not even touched yet. That I have to get back to those once I'm done covering Nextfest.
But yeah.
But I think this is a good point to talk a little bit more about the quality of the demo, because we've been kind of discussing like what it means to keep a demo up, when to take it down, that kind of thing. As I said, of the 114 demos I played, a lot of them were really great. But there was still a few that just did not feel right. And this may be some shots fired here, so I want to see if you two agree with me on this or not. But if you're going to be on Nextfest, your demo should have a working options menu. It shouldn't have uncapped FPS in a demo for Nextfest. I've played a few that use stock Unity and Unreal assets in the actual like UI and GUI of the demo. I feel like if you're doing that, this is not a demo ready for Next Festival. So, am I being crazy, or do you guys agree with me on that one?
For the most part, yes. I totally agree. You should have some sort of an options. Doesn't have to have 300 options on it, but the ability to turn the sound down should be one of them. And I think as things get, this artificial scarcity grows, as well as the amount of people entering into this swimming pool of demos, the quality is going to have to continue to improve as well. I guess last year, a lot of the demos coming out were much, much worse. It is getting better. But that's going to turn people off really, really quick if they can, see a 1 or 2 man indie shop putting out a dynamite demo, and then a larger team not being able to do an options menu. That's going to really turn people off.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like we've discussed this multiple times before, but like making sure your demo is demo ready, right? There's, first of all, like, okay, just discussing like the menus, right? Those are things like no matter what engine you're using, if you're using Unreal, if you're using Godot, if you're using Unity, there exist assets for you to help you make your options menu work, right? Where all of that works together, right? So first things first, like when I'm talking about game jams and things like that, is have a functioning menu, because I guarantee you, like, and I've said this a million times before, the first thing that a streamer does is go to your menu. They go to your menu and they see if you put anything cool in there, if it works. Because it's like the easy hit, right? Oh, this menu's garbage. Yeah. Like it's the easiest hit for them. And it's the first thing that people want to see, because it also tells so much about your game. So, not like if anybody watching this is unaware, like if I go to your game and I'm like, so they released this demo on Nextfest and the menu, it doesn't at all, like these things are not there. To me, that is a giant red flag that there's so many other omissions in this game. And it doesn't mean that, we were focusing on the gameplay and stuff like that. The menu and all those things are things that they're standard now. They're in all vehicles. All vehicles have to include them by law, right? Otherwise it doesn't belong on the road. So those are things that should be there, and we all should know that. Like those are the basics of games. Also, side note, we are now in a different time. This is not like a long time ago where you could get away with this. Gamers are so educated. They literally know what the Unity stock assets look like, right? They literally know what the Unreal stock assets look like. They're there. And if they don't know, they could Google it or ask ChatGPT to give them an image of it, right? No problem. So all of these things for sure 100 need to be addressed before you put it there, right? So always make sure that you have a plan before the festival, during the festival, and after the festival to maximize it as much as possible. But yeah, getting back to the quality of the demo, like those minimum quality of life things should always be there, and they should always be included, right? Just take a look around, download another demo and look at what's in there. And if you don't even meet the minimum requirements, then you probably don't belong in Nextfest, right? So
soft locks in a demo are 100% like you need to reevaluate your life. You're doing something really wrong.
I have played 3 demos this last week that each soft locked me in the middle of the demo. And one actually did it the week prior. So it's like 4 games that each had a major soft lock in them.
Didn't you play one that's soft locked like in the tutorial or?
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, always a good sign. It's like, no. Make sure someone is playtesting your demo before you put it out.
Yeah,
for the love of God.
Right.
You are not an island. There are other people that are willing to help you out.
There is so many places that you can reach out to, and remember, like playtesting is not you playing it yourself over and over again. Right?
There's that extra like tick of stress damage. I think on from Darkest Dungeon there.
Yeah, that is. Oh no, please.
And I think this also goes back to what Seth said a few minutes ago about the fallacy of demos cannibalizing sales. That if a demo is bad, it is going to ruin the sales of your game. Like, there's no denying that. And one of the worst things that I've seen is that a bad demo is if someone plays your demo as bad, that's going to be their metric for what your game is going to be like at release. And I have a really good example of this. There's a tactical strategy game coming out, I believe, next month. And let's see if I can look up the name of it. Here it is. Arcadian Atlas. So the demo for this one went up last year, I believe. And this is, again, like a Tactics Ogre, Final Fantasy Tactics style game. When the demo was released, it had no gamepad functionality. And a lot of people, including me, found it borderline unplayable. And it's one of those cases where developers said, well, we didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal, but we'll add it in later. We'll add that in an updated demo. But again, you have to realize that the very first version of your game that you put out, people see this ginormous red flag of a problem. Even if you do correct that, even if you do like pull off like the No Man's Sky, you've fixed all those issues, people still remember that pain point. They still remember those issues. And again, it's why, as we've said before, like when you put your demo out, when you put something on early access, you need to treat it almost like a soft launch of your game. You need to make sure that it is of as high quality as you can. And like, we're joking here about like demos that have soft locks in them. That is a horrible thing to find in your demo. And if that shows up, like, that is a case to take that demo down. Like, if people are finding soft locks in the very like first 5 minutes of playing it, you need to take that down and get that fixed. Because everyone who is experiencing that, they're going to remember that, and that's not going to color their impression of your game positively. Again, for someone like me, even those ones that soft lock me, I still wishlist them because I could see that there's quality there. But I have to keep pointing this out. I am not the usual consumer of these games. And for a lot of them, again, why should you give someone more time and even more of your money if the very first minute you load up the game, it crashes? Or you go to walk to the right and the game just stops functioning?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is like your most important time to shine. And like, please do not be taking this as like an alpha or maybe beta test. Like, this is not that time. This is not the time to get your game play tested. This is when this is launch. This is literally launch. We're not going anywhere else but launch. You are releasing your game on Nextfest. That means you are ready to be covered by streamers, right? So you're gonna have streamers playing it. They're like, soft lock in the tutorial, eh? And they chunk it. I mean, that's just how it goes. And like, so having it prepped and ready for this, like you cannot omit, like you were just speaking about. I remember Arcadia and about Atlas was kind of hype for that one. And yeah, not having controllers for me was just like, oh, well, they're not really considerate of like gamers like me. So probably they're not going to be considerate of other things that I might want changed, right? So like that, those are things to keep in mind, is that how educated gamers are, how connected they are, and that a demo can definitely sink you if you're not ready, if you're prepared, if you're rushed, and if you're using this as like an alpha or beta test.
There was one demo that I tried, not this festival, but the one before it, where it had every stock asset imaginable. It had the complete Unity kind of GUI for everything. It had text to voice AI for all the tutorials. It was just horrible to play. I'm pretty sure it had uncapped frame rate as well on top of that. And I spent maybe 50 seconds in that before I was just like, nope, I don't want to do this anymore. And again, that's a very bad thing. If your demo is dissuading people from playing your game, something is not right. And
definitely,
as you said, like, this is not the time to play test. When you're on the festival, whether it's a Nextfest, Lunatica, Tacticon, whatever con we're thinking of, this is not an alpha period. This is not a playtest session. This is, for all intents and purposes, a major marketing event. This is where you go to show your game. Like, imagine if someone went to a PAX or a Too Many Games festival, and they come with a demo that doesn't work, it's crashing. Just imagine how much time and money would be lost on that studio to go to this festival and their game is literally not working. Think of that like as almost akin to like putting out a bad demo on Nextfest.
Yeah, you need to give yourself as many chances as you possibly can to make a good impression. And if you're skimping on things like this, then you're really not taking things seriously, or you shouldn't be surprised when you get mediocre results.
Indeed.
Yep. And again, like, a good demo, that in of itself, that's another show topic, right? I think we may even cover that on a previous show on a roundtable.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, again, a good demo, just like as the Cliff's Notes version for any indie developers watching, it needs to have an actual beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
There has to be an end to this demo. Some developers will just say, I'm just going to give you the first 5 hours of my game as a demo. No, don't do that. Do not give me a 5-hour long demo. I played a demo last night that, oh my goodness, like everything that is like a do not was in this demo within like the first 5 minutes of playing it. And it's one of those things where, like, I was reading like the stories, like, we're like a 2-person studio. This is our first demo we're having for this game we're so excited about. And the demo was just so horrible. And again, it could be a case of developer not knowing. It could be their first game. But this is not, again, like, Nextfest is not the time to be just throwing something out there and hoping someone's going to find it.
Yeah, no, that's a bad idea. Well, you wouldn't. Well, people do that all the time on Steam, I guess. They just put their game out and expect people to gravitate towards it. But it's not going to work. It's not going to be. It's not good. I wish I had the list of the demos that did really, really, really well. Let me see if I can find that email while you guys continue.
Okay, I have. While you're looking up some notes here, like I have a couple games here and some of their stats, like just wish list earned during the festival. And like for these games, this is massive, right? These are tiny, these are small indie games. For example, like during I think this was 2022, Shapes 2, they garnered like 10K wish list. Escape from Mistwood Mansion, they got 3.3K. Engineer, they got 2.1K, and Artificial 1.3. So, just a massive bump. Like, and last one here, Paint Over getting 141 wish lists, and you may be thinking, wow, that's not a lot. But when this game previously had like no one looking at it or no traction at all, it's at least something, right? And so like the amount of wish lists that you can get from this, the amount of coverage that you can get, the amount of potential sales, and like the opportunity to network, right? Like if you've actually brought a quality product to the table, right, and it's actually pretty good, regardless of like how viral it got or whatever, there's always people looking and there's always eyes, right? And someone might notice, someone might notice and say, hey, this game has it going on, and you could start networking from there. A streamer could pick it up, especially if you didn't take down your demo. They could pick it up, a week or two later, start playing it, and you'll see an uptick in wish list. And so it's just like a really good way to just put your stamp down there and put it on. So, Seth, you find those stats?
Yeah, I did. I did. Like Warhaven did about 3725 follower increase during the event. Viewfinder about 3,200. Rise of P about 29. Sea of Stars 2,900. Norland, no one had heard of beforehand, gained 2,850 followers. One of the big ones is I found out about Jump Light Odyssey because I was on a Tacticon panel with one of their community managers, and it did 2107 and was certainly one of the darlings of the Steam Nextfest. That's follower increase. I don't know how that translates to sales at a later time.
And I think almost every one of those games, except for Norland, is one game that I covered and I really enjoyed during Nextfest.
There you go. So if anything, it increased the visibility, because again, it's not like the demo, like some devs are thinking, I'm releasing my demo, it's just in front of this one person to play, but it's just so much more holistic. Just as Seth has the numbers and he was looking over them, Josh covered them, right? And so it creates this larger ecosystem where streamers are covering it, where Seth is studying it, where Josh is delivering the information, and so it allows it to really grow out so much from the festival, and it's just an example of like how much you can increase from joining the festival, right?
Yeah, and I had to ask, did Shapes 2 have a Nextfest demo? Because if it did, then I completely missed it.
They did have a demo.
Yeah. And it's not available anymore either.
Is it not?
No.
Oh my gosh. Shapes 2.
Well, that would have been 115.
There you go.
This is an interesting number. So they said around 1,200 demos showcased, which is 7.5% of the 1,600 unreleased Steam games in the hype charts that they're monitoring for Game Discovery Company. Simon's operation.
7%.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what did I cover? Well, if I only cover 114, how much percent did I cover on that?
Yeah,
It's
you
like
covered.
0.041.
Oh my god. And it nearly drove me mad doing it, too.
Yeah. So
As
the
it,
biggest. Oh, this is interesting. This is an interesting chart. CCU concurrent users. The biggest three were the Matchless Kung Fu, Warhaven, and Reverse Collapse, with about 28, 39, and 4,400 users concurrently playing, respectively.
Wow.
Those are really super numbers. I mean, a lot of sorry,
huh.
a lot of games, struggle to get 100 people concurrently playing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Wait,
It
I just want to say, wait, are you saying Reverse Collapse Codename Bakery was on that list? Is that the game?
Reverse Collapse is. It doesn't say anything about Codename Bakery, but
Am I looking up at something? Well, you're one of the ones who wants it. It says it on their store page. It says Reverse Collapse and then Codename Bakery. It's a turn-based role-playing.
that's it. Codename Bakery.
There we go. Maybe the secret is that bakery in your... I did play a roguelike about cooking, Cuisinier, so maybe cooking is the new hot trend.
There you go.
well, what's even weirder is this looks like it's a tower defense anime Arc Knights type game.
I was about to say that, yeah. And it's another one where the demo has been taken down. So again, it's that case where... Again, I try to cover as many of them that I could find. I still miss some of the big name ones.
So right now on this show, we've mentioned at least, I don't know, a few that have been loud. I have Steam up right now, is ready to download them if I can't download it. And guess what? I'm going to forget about it. I'm going to forget to maybe not Shapes. Right. How can we forget about Shapes too? Mm-hmm. But it's here's an opportunity. We have coverage later on. If you're not watching this live, people will be watching this, and then the few games that you mentioned, and then your coverage later on, and they won't be able. And also, are you telling me that Reverse Collapse Codenames Bakery demo wasn't amazing?
Yeah. No.
It must have been. I mean, really?
Yeah.
It did great numbers. Why wouldn't they want to keep that up?
Yeah.
What are they trying to hide?
What are they hiding?
I mean, I played a demo last festival that was completely in, I think, Japanese or Korean. Didn't understand a word of it, and I still enjoyed it. There's no English translation to it. So, there's a lot of stuff out there that people are never going to find. And as a, as a quick, tangent, or maybe something we'll talk about later on about stuff I would like to see in future festivals, I would love for Steam to add a feature that it alerts you of a game you have wishlisted if there's a demo for it. I think that would be a very popular feature here for any developers.
Absolutely. Now, here's a trick for those people who are listening. You can go down to your Steam page, and you can hit categories, and in the main Steam page. Mm-hmm. And select demos, and it'll give you the list of the demos organized by date, so that you can track when demos come out. And it does kind of give you a way to keep mm-hmm. watching what demos are being released when a Nextfest is not happening. But yeah, it just like it should tell you, Steam should tell you, hey, there's DLC for all these games that you have. They are trying to implement something, but it's totally useless. There should be a, hey, you have this game wishlisted, there's a demo out now. Alert. Mm-hmm. Again, Steam is 99% of the sales. They don't have to innovate. They don't have to do anything special. So they're not putting time and effort into into these features that could be wonderful to increase in discoverability. I think that's where we come in, though. I mean, we help out with discoverability.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
And let's see, I think Grumpy Dragon in chat had a question. Would there be any benefits / downsides in releasing your demo way before the festival begins, considering the week may be too short? I think part of it... go ahead.
You wouldn't get highlighted in like the Nextfest type marketing. But yeah, put out a good demo when you can. Don't wait for a Nextfest, because there's nothing that increases discoverability then, other than you might get a streamer to play it and then it picks up. But why couldn't you get Nookrum or Splattercat? They're always doing demos. They're always putting out new content with new demos. Why not?
And as just to clarify, for the smaller festivals like the Tacticon, Hidden Gems, that kind of thing, can a game be in like multiple versions of those, or can they like submit for like they did for like the June season? Can they submit again for like the December season or something like that?
Yeah, the ones that are done, the Nextfest is done by Steam summer sales, or the Steam sales are done by Steam. The other ones are done by independent places. So like Tiny Teams is done by Yogscast. So they handle who could go on to the Tiny Teams. Tacticon is handled by Hooded Horse. And Fire Squid Games, they say you have to be 2 years, within 2 years of release. Turn-based Tactics is also 2 years from release. They kind of took the same model. So yeah, you could be in the turn-based one, you could be in Tacticon, you could be in Tiny Teams, you could be in all of those. They're making their own limits.
Okay.
And there's no reason not to be. If you're a tiny team from Poland and everybody is LGBTQ, then yes, enter all of them.
Yep.
This should be part of everybody's marketing diet. A well-balanced diet of marketing material is always a good thing. Get out as many as possible. Maybe you won't be able to score big in one, and another one you'll be able to score big in. These are free events that, well, I mean, you're spending time to market, or to put. You're spending your time, but they're free. It's not like going to a trade convention, which used to be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get your game in a trade con. So might as well just use everything you possibly can to get your name out there.
And
but yeah, but if you can put out a demo 6 months before a Nextfest, don't wait till Nextfest. Put out your demo when you can, when it's in the best shape that it can be. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, I would say, and again, especially as we were talking about with how saturated festivals are, even if you do wait, there's not a chance, or there's still that possibility that people will just not find your game in time. Again, how many demos did I miss of games that I really wanted to play that I didn't even know about? And it's good to get that early marketing done. Now, I guess here's a question, for you, Seth, in terms of how the festivals work. If a developer, let's say, puts out a demo for their game, 6 months ago or 6 months in the past, and then they put out or they develop a special, Nextfest demo, like an update, or they rebrand as a new demo, does that count, or will that be eligible for Nextfest? Or does Steam treat that as you already have one demo, we're not letting you go on a Nextfest?
As far as I know, and I could be wrong about this, to be in a Nextfest, you have to not be out.
Okay.
And that includes early access. and not have had a demo in a Nextfest. Now, you could have had a demo as long as it wasn't, in the Nextfest celebration. So, like, Nigrin, the Rat King, or something like that. I could have the name of the game wrong. They've had a demo for quite some time, but they've never had it entered into the Nextfest. So they were able to put that in.
Okay. All right. And then to Grumpy's other question, would any of you play a demo twice? For me, the answer would probably be no. The only times I would replay a demo is if, let's say, it's such a long demo that I need to, play a second time just to finish it, or if I didn't do well the first time. But once I kind of see what a demo is, to me, that's usually the sign that, okay, I'm waiting for release at that point, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah, same here. It's demo and release. That's it. I would be very hard pressed to replay a demo. I would probably have to have some closer ties to the demo or the company or something like that. But even then, like if it from Square Enix or from Nintendo, and it was like, here's our second demo, I would probably wait till release, regardless of who the game was from. Seth?
Yeah, I'm usually only going in there for a limited amount of time. I also don't like to spoil myself. Yeah, sometimes I'll buy a game in early access or be given a game in early access for coverage, and I'll just play it for a little bit to get a feel for it, and then I'll put it away until it's done. Because I don't want to, I don't want to predisposition myself to liking or disliking it based on incomplete information.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I did with Against the Storm. I had that on Epic for like the last year or two, and I had barely played because I didn't want to get spoiled on it. The same thing went for that Industries of Titan game. And it is one of the things you have to be very mindful of sometimes as a creator, because I definitely burnt myself out playing Monster Train and Slay the Spire before those games came out, and then I barely touched them after the fact.
And, that's something that we should probably talk about in its own roundtables. How to not suck the air out of the room so that your 1.0 release is as big as your early access.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely a dance. You have to be very careful with it.
Mm-hmm. To Smith's comment, games demos they play multiple times were like Sub with Friends, Super Smash Brothers, and Mario Kart 8. And yet, the demo was multiplayer. That does afford it a little bit more replayability. Mm-hmm. Especially fighting game demos. I'm sure there are a lot of people who, even with just 2 characters, they probably play with their friends quite a bit. For single player demos, though, it is a different story. When the demo is a fixed entity in terms of content, that most people will, I think, only give it one shot. And again, it goes back to the point we made earlier that when you put your demo up on Nextfest, that's your one shot. If people hate that demo, or you put up a bad demo, you really handicapped your game in front of all those people who played it.
Yeah, and speaking of bad demo, before we can forget, can we speak about the size of the demo? I don't know, we haven't mentioned that, but I think it's very important. If your demo is really massive, I will be less inclined to download it. Right? I can tell there's not a lot of optimization going on. Just from the size, I can tell that there's some issues. Right? So how much does the size of the demo affect y'all's decisions?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know if it does. I mean, I've definitely, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, okay, I've seen enough and I can stop. Mm-hmm. But, sometimes it is oh my God, this is dragging on forever. I guess so. But then, what's the difference between a demo and a prologue and a vertical slice and
Oh no, I was referring to actual like storage data on your hard drive, right? Like how optimized is the demo, right? Like, did they optimize it? Did they care to do that? Because I know, Seth, you posted your hard drive breakdown, and it was just full of demos. And it's like, wouldn't you be more appreciative? Like, doesn't it say like just a little bit, like that the dev was like, you know what, let me optimize this demo just a little bit for you guys so you don't have to download a massive one. I know your time is limited, so I'm going to make the size of the demo from you to getting into the game as easy as possible. Doesn't that just go over a little well? It's better than downloading a 50 gig demo.
Probably, but I'm looking at Dark Envoy right now. Has an 18 gigabyte demo, and I'm wondering to myself, and there are a lot of demos that are plus 10 gigabytes. And I'm wondering to myself, why do we need a demo that large?
Right.
I mean, are they shipping the entire game? Just all the art assets are in place at the moment?
I honestly don't think they're shipping the entire game. I think it's that and it's not optimized.
Mm-hmm. Oh my, yes. And I think 2 demo length, that's another really good point, especially if the game is kind of like an RPG or something along those lines, where if I'm playing your demo, I don't want 30 minutes of dialogue. I want to get into that game. And it's also why I think some of the better demos out there, sort of those that are more RPG minded, what they'll do is say, okay, we're going to give you this intro. Okay, you know what? You saw the intro? Let's fast forward to the first dungeon. Get through the dungeon? Okay, let's fast forward to this cool part, and then we end the demo. Like, the demo should not just be your game, but smaller. It has to be, again, it has to have a beginning, middle, and end to it. And if you don't view it like that, again, like, a bad demo in this respect is not the most damning thing. There are people who will love to play a 2-hour-long demo of a game. But you're still handicapping the reach of that demo. Because if you tell someone, hey, this is a great demo, it's 5 hours of playtime, how many people are going to be able to experience that? And more importantly, how many people are going to be able to cover a 5-hour-long demo? Again, when you're trying to play over 100 demos in 10 days. And as a again point, especially if it's a time-limited demo. You tell me this demo is only going to be up for 5 days, and it's a 10-hour-long demo. How the heck is someone supposed to play that?
Yeah,
that is a little crazy.
Yeah, and it doesn't like really entice you either. It's like, 10 hours? I only got like 5 days. Maybe next time. It's not like this attractive proposition. So maybe like a game like that might be suited, like they were talking about releasing it earlier in a niche festival or something like that, and maybe not so saturated. Anyway.
Yep. And now there is, I think, such a thing about maybe a demo being too short as well. There are some demos where I play where all of a sudden I'm playing, it's like, okay, demo over, thanks for playing, end kill task kind of game. And that, I think, can also hurt your game's image. You need to have a legitimate ending to this demo. More importantly, I think this is something that I'm sure Seth will agree with, you need to have kind of like that final marketing push. You need to say, wish list this game. This game will be out whenever. Here's our social media. Like, you need to give the player a good impression to end the demo on.
Mm-hmm. I want to be able to open up your demo. I want to see where your social networks are. I want to see where your Discord is. I want to see when you're targeting the game, and how market meter your mailing list to while you're at. Those are definitely things that should be there, and the end of the demo is a great place to put those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have a question for both of you. What do you think about demos that end with a can't believe my mind's blanking on the term.
The timer?
A survey. There we go. We'll talk about demos next, or a time on the demo for sure. But what do you guys think about having the survey at the end of the demo? Because I don't know. I feel like this is just wasted effort. Like, one of the demos I play is like, you finish a demo. Would you like to take a 15-minute long survey of the game is? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I like, I'm fine if it's just like, did you like it? Yes, no. Okay,
Yes.
maybe I'll do that. But, like, asking the consumer to give them even more time, it just doesn't feel like it's going to work.
Right. I feel like it's a valiant effort, but I don't feel like it's very effective. I think by that point, I'm just like you. I'm done with the demo. I would be more likely to give a thumbs up, thumbs down. Like, did you like it? Yes or no. But to actually like, what did you think of the asset design of this character? Did it fit the genre? Those ones are actually quite draining to me, and I would be more apt to skip them. I think. I mean, if you're going to include it. Maybe one or two people will fill it out, and you might gather some information. But I don't think they're super effective. Seth, what do you know about these?
Well, I do a lot of playtesting for folks, whether it be free or whether it be paid, and so I'm always filling out Google Forms here and there. So I'm kind of blind to it when a demo says, "Hey, you want to fill out the thing?" It's like, no, I don't. Thanks. I do this 30 times a day. No, leave me alone. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask. But I also adopt games, and I get really into seeing the game come out or seeing it come out in the best state as possible. And in that case, I'll volunteer to give feedback. So I don't know. Put the link up. Hey, fill out this form if you want. But
I think it's best to include it than not. Right, Seth.
Yeah, probably. Don't force someone to do it though. Don't like auto pop their browser.
Right, like they cannot continue past the tutorial. It soft locks them unless you fill out the survey.
Or you can't leave the game until you fill out the survey.
We've deactivated all 4. You will stare at the screen until you fill it out. You can't even turn your computer off.
Yeah, that's good right there. To Smith's point about time limits and demos, I hate those as well. I feel like,
boy, that's FOMO. Is that not FOMO?
Yeah. I feel like this is everyone taking the wrong message from like the Resident Evil, I think, 2 remake demo, where they gave you like 20, I think it was like 30 minutes or an hour, no matter how you played, and then, you're locked out of that demo.
Yeah.
I do not agree with that. And again, as an indie developer, you do not have Capcom's clout.
Yeah, you don't have that cachet.
You are not Capcom. You are not Nintendo. You are not a AAA studio here. You want as many people looking at your game for as long as humanly possible.
Right. Exactly. Like
you don't want to wear out your welcome, and you don't want to, make it seem that you're more important than you actually are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Excellent.
Yep. Let's see. As a quick time check, we are about an hour and 18 in. I'm trying to think if there's any other major points. I do want, the final point, I want to kind of talk about, talk about future festivals. But before we get to that, anything from either of you two while I try to think of any more topics on my end?
Let's see here. I'll look over my notes.
Time limits, we talked about quality.
What was your favorite 2 or 3 demos that you played during the festival?
Oh man, I'll let Josh answer that one while I try to go through my memory of all the demos that I played.
Let's see. Well, we've discussed time resource investment, testing, iteration, marketing, promotion. Otherwise, I guess we're getting down to the final points here, right, Josh? Anything on your end, Seth?
He just asked about, favorite demos that we played.
Oh yeah, that's right. I played none. And everyone I wanted to play was taken down, so I was very miffed. If the kids use that word still.
Let's see. Some of my favorites. I really did like Viewfinder. I thought that was a fantastic puzzle-style game.
Viewfinder was out on the Nextfest, really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh! Don't tell me it's down. Watch
It's down.
It is down.
Okay, golly. I was following that one since his tech tweet. Like he was like, "Guys, check this tech out," and then and then that was it, and it blew up, and I was following it ever since, and I've been waiting for the demo. So,
and for chat, while I'm trying to think of any demos you particularly liked from
definitely,
and let us know in the comments for those of you watching this recorded. I mentioned Cataclysmo earlier. I really enjoyed that one. One that I just tried lately was Leica Aged Through Blood. It's a Motovania. You're on a motorcycle, kind of like Trials physics, and you're fighting enemies, and you have to do backflips and flips on your motorcycle to refill your attacks.
That is amazing.
It is very weird to play, but it was also a lot of fun. Seth mentioned Sea of Stars earlier. That's the next game for the Messenger. I really enjoyed that one. Ooh, and just, again, like, the first, 7-8 days, a lot of very great demos that I played. And I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting them all. When I do my best of a Nextfest video at some point, I'm going to go through all the videos I put up and just, look at the ones and see which ones I enjoyed the most. For you, Seth, what were your favorites?
So, Broken Roads, I thought, was a really, really special CRPG. It is definitely, if Fallout took place in Australia, I would imagine that's what Broken Roads would be. Fallout 2, by the way. It's still available, and it's 13 gigs.
All right.
Jumplight Odyssey kind of reminded me of any of those 80s Jap animations. Jumplight Odyssey. It's still available.
I just want to say, the opening, cutscene for that game was brilliant in terms of, how it looked.
Yeah. And that's still available. And Norland, which is still available as well, interests me a lot. I'll be interested to see where that is going. And Bulwark, probably one of the most interesting tech alphas. I guess it's a tech alpha.
Oh, yeah.
I would certainly, and they did that game on under 2 gigs. So, games with 17 gigabyte demos, I don't understand it. Because Bulwark is gorgeous.
Yeah, I interviewed the developer about it last week, too.
Nice.
Yeah. Very interesting game. I really want to see, where that one pans out. 2 other ones I remember. Nick Dollar and chat remind me of On Guard. On Guard is really fantastic as an action game. If you haven't played that one, definitely check that one out. Do they still have that demo up, is the question. And yep, it's still up.
It's still up. Good, because that's one of the main ones I wanted to download.
And in the VS Lake department, I really like Death Must Die. It has that kind of Diablo flavor that Halls of Torment is doing. But was enjoying that one, as that was also probably the only other one that I did play multiple times, now that I think about it, because I played it till I actually won the 10 minutes of that demo. So I did play that one at least twice.
And the demo for Death Must Die is still open, so I'm still there.
Yep.
Installing it now.
Yeah, so again, there are as kind of leading into our final point for our show, the festivals are definitely working in terms of getting games or getting eyes on some of these games. And what we've seen, again, this is another topic for the Great Roundtable, is that, again, quality is exceedingly getting bigger and bigger with some of these games. There were, like I said, of 114 demos I downloaded, maybe there were 8 or 9 that I did not like, that didn't make it into the coverage. And that's still over 100 demos that I ended up enjoying that I have never... These were sight unseen demos for me. So there is so much room for, again, quality. But that also means, as we've said over the course of this video or over the course of this episode, you have to really step it up as an indie developer. And like we said, you only get one shot on Nextfest. If your one shot on Nextfest is, this is my pre-alpha demo with all unfinished assets, all stock template, Unity or Unreal, that is not the time to do a demo like that. And you really need to make this work. Again, imagine, as I've said, my trend for 2023, or my trend after getting 10,000 subscribers, is to give developers PTSD. Just imagine putting your demo on Nextfest is akin to showing it at a trade show. That you are going to a penny arcade, you're going to Gamescom, or Too Many Games. And just imagine how you would feel if you put that demo up, people come to your little booth, and the demo crashes the second you start controlling a character.
The biggest bounce factor I found from the demos this time around, because the quality is increasing, is that people aren't putting accessibility options in them. So, turning off screen shake, people are not realizing that they really should do that. Or sounds that trigger tinnitus. Sorry.
Oh my god, there was a demo that I played last night that all the dialogue, for the narrator, was just this loud noise, and it was just I could feel my ears starting to bleed as I was listening to this. And I want to add this before I forget. Make sure if you release a demo, you can turn vibration off if someone has a gamepad plugged in. For the love of God, please make sure you do this. I don't want to be playing on my keyboard or my controller is just bouncing around my desk like that toaster from Ghostbusters 2 while I'm trying to play.
Yeah, I know a bunch of streamers. I mean, I always champion accessibility stuff, but I know a bunch of streamers that do have some severe cases of motion disturbance syndromes, or they can't handle parallax, or they have sound issues. And that was something that I was seeing is people do not think to change those things in the demo, and that'll sink your game faster than a torpedo.
To Grumpy's question, any of the demos you enjoy make you want to purchase the full game? Again, the ones that I mentioned, stuff like Viewfinder, On Guard, Death Must Die, and so on, definitely for me, yes. And again, because I cover games, I'm about to sneeze as I'm trying to talk, but I also get press key, so these are the games I will usually reach out to the developer around when the game is released to see if I can get one. But yeah, again, the point of your demo is to sell people on your game. At minimum, it should be to get them to wishlist it. But you do want, again, your demo to have a very favorable impression. And this is how you build word of mouth. This is how, as we've said before, in terms of game coverage, if you're expecting just to release your game one day, and then day number 2 Markiplier covers it, now you're rich and famous, it's not going to work. The developers who succeed this way, they build up very effective marketing, and the demo is oftentimes one of those early stages. It's not the only thing that you do, definitely not, if you're going to do indie game marketing, but you need to have that good impression, because, again, all the GIFs, all the TikToks and, short videos you post doesn't mean anything if people go to your store page, they try your demo, and they hate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that, I think I'm about ready for the final point. That's kind of talking about future festivals and so on. Anything else from either one of you two before we kind of move into the final topic?
Yeah, let's go ahead and go into the final topic there.
Okay. So, as we've been saying, the whole kind of festival culture on Steam has really, it's very young, maybe 2-3 years at this time, and it's still in that very infancy period in terms of trying to get things working or getting things better for everyone involved. So we've been kind of talking about this in bits and pieces over the last hour and a half as to what we would like to see from future festivals. So I will give everyone a chance to go around the little room here. We'll start with Josh this time. So for you as an indie developer, what would you like to see in terms of features, changes in the rules, anything like that for festivals on Steam?
I think that I don't know how it would even be possible, but if there would be some way to curate, to make visibility better, because I know that it's going to get worse and worse. And so that would be my main thing. Like, if there was just some way through genre tagging or something that you could make sure that you do have visibility if you enter. And that's basically it. I mean, I think right now they're on a track. They're going the right direction. And I don't see too many issues with the way that the fests are being conducted. I think currently they're on the right track. Seth?
Yeah, discoverability has always been my big problem with Steam, and I'd love to see them more. And these festivals are certainly no exception to that. I like seeing that people are starting to put in a lot of support, that we're seeing mid-tier publishers putting in support here. I think this is all good things, and there are definitely side effects from everything being locked down in COVID. This is definitely one of the reasons why we've gone to these festivals, is to prevent, or it's not to prevent, but to deal with the fact that a lot of trade shows are closing.
Yep.
And I don't think we really need an E3, and I'm not sure if we ever needed an E3 as a for consumers. I think trade shows make a lot of sense for B2B connections, but for consumers, I think they were starting to definitely fall out of focus. I mean, who wants to go to a PAX anymore? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And travel expenses and stuff like that. And again, for international developers, like I know I checked out earlier this year. I think it was the Latin American Games Festival. Again, like, how many of those developers would be able to afford a ticket to an E3 or to a PAX? And again, like, you could argue, well, why don't you just have a show in their country? But you see, the problem is that, as we know, game dev is a global market these days. If all you're doing is showing your game off to just one segment, you're missing out on everything. And that is, I could rant and rave about that for another hour on that one point. And yeah, it is really great. Or, like, discoverability is definitely one thing I would like to see more improved. As I said earlier, I think there should be alerts for demos, not just for Nextfest. I think just demo alerts as just a standard feature on Steam.
Yeah.
In terms of like specifically for Nextfest, I think to Josh's point, I would like to see a little bit more curation or a little bit more vetting. Because, like I said, like, I don't mind if you have adult games on Nextfest, but I don't want to see, like, your adult game that has nothing to do with platforming on the platforming tab. Or, like, there were some things that were a little bit confusing. Like, it says it was a tower defense, but it looked like a third-person shooter. And again, like, there are some cases where, like, some demos kind of belong in multiple categories. Like, there's in the action and the platforming and the RPG tab. It may be better for curation's sake to maybe have, like, a primary genre tag. That if your game is predominantly a third-person shooter, yes, it may have RPG elements to it. Maybe it's, a platformer. But it should stay in the shooter tab or the platformer tab, wherever is your main thing. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I would say there should be, for people who crave festivals. I'm not sure if this is in yet, but there should be, like, a better way to kind of know when there's a festival coming up. Because I think the worst thing that can happen is if it becomes like a festival saturation, where it's like, okay, we have Nextfest, then we go immediately into Lunaricon, then we go immediately into Tacticon, then we go into whatever con. Like, I think there needs to be a little bit more mindful of, giving the consumer time to breathe in that respect.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm not sure how, because I think they're going to want to keep expanding and adding more unique ones, but definitely allowing the consumer to breathe just a little bit in between would definitely help. That shoulder, Josh.
Yeah. It's all those games I'm playing. My arms are falling apart.
115 games a week shoulder right there.
Yeah, there you go. I would say
I think there is one every week, I think, going on at this point.
Yeah, when I was researching, I was like, oh my gosh, like it's worse than not as worse as Game Jams. Game Jams, there's like one every single day. But I mean, it's pretty saturated now. I was like, I see no space in between each one for one. So in considering the future, I'm wondering when eventually the consumer will get burned out. But as a side note, with like the breakdown of like Twitter and Reddit and like our consumers, like, do they believe that they can rely on social media, and do game devs believe that they can rely on social media as a way to get it out anymore, because it's so fragile or so volatile, right? So like Steam being this bastion that's been there for years and years and years is definitely something that you can count on, right? Because it's not going to change dramatically. They're only going to make tweaks, and hopefully tweaks for the better and for the gamers and the consumers, right? So.
Mm-hmm. And there's one last point before I forget that I want to kind of add as a suggestion for developers. Keeping with the whole theme of your demo is your first shot, or your first and only shot to impress the consumer, make sure your store page and your thumbnail are also up to task if you're going to release something on Nextfest. Because another thing that I saw, there was a huge spectrum of quality of thumbnails of some of the demos I saw. Like, some looked really damn good, and there were some that, if we review them on the in the store page or in the inquiries, it would probably get like a D or an F. Again, like if you're on, like we've said, like I think the major point, at least from me, to end like our episode on is that treat a Nextfest, treat a festival as a major marketing point. Like, your game should be as polished, your store page should be as well done as it can be before you click on saying, yes, I will be on this festival. Because if you lose this opportunity, it is going to hurt your game's chances royally. And again, conversely, if you do it right, if you have an impressive store page and the demo is wonderful, like Seth and Josh were bringing up numbers earlier on this show, it can pay off in terms of eyes on your games. Now, does that magically, or does that merely translate into money in your pocket? No. But again, the more eyes on your game means the more people who want to talk about it. It means that influencers and people who cover games will want to talk about it as well. And this is, as we've said in so many of these shows, this is how you build that snowball of coverage that's going to keep growing and growing. And so that when your game is released, people know about it. They say, well, I tried this demo and I loved it, so let me check out the main game, or let me wait until so-and-so decides to play it.
Exactly. And just a side note, it was when you mentioned about influencers, as I was doing some research about this, I find that a lot of people will actually just, if they see the thumbnail of your game on the streamer, they will actually just wish list it instantly and not even watch the stream to not spoil it, right? So if you're roiling about like spoilage or anything like that, like a lot of consumers like will actually just say, okay, my favorite streamer is playing it, so I'm gonna wish list it and download the demo or whatever. Like it's going, like there's always gonna be some extra interaction no matter what, right? So
yep.
Yeah.
And again, like, don't treat if you view your demo as being detrimental to your game's success, A, that's a horrible mindset to have, and B, it means your demo is not up to par.
Right. Like, why are you feeling that? For one, why are you feeling that way? I could understand having jitters about, okay, this is my first demo, this is my first thing. But if feeling that your demo is going to hurt your game in any way, shape, or form, that means you need to take a step back and look all over your demo and see what it is. Like deep down inside, there is something that is wrong with your demo that you need to address, and that's what you are telling yourself. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like we've said, there is no shame in skipping Nextfest. There's no shame in not putting out a demo that's not ready. Again, treat these, whenever you go participate in like a major event like this, treat it as a soft launch of your game. Would you want people viewing this version of your game? Again, there are some, tech demos, there are some like alpha builds that can be really great. If you nailed it perfectly, more power to you. If it's not there, if it's not playable, if it's annoying, if you know, and again, I'm going to cause some developers some pain, but if you know that there is a major bug in your demo, if you know that it soft locks 90% of the time the player does this, don't release your demo. Even if you put on the title, hey, if you do this, the demo will crash.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Make sure that your demo is as perfect as you can make it, and then you put it out there.
Indeed.
Whew. But again, I could go into like 5 more rants, but I got like 4 more videos I need to edit this weekend, as well as I gotta start reviewing the book that I'm writing. Or no, I gotta write the next book. I have to review the draft of the previous book. So my time is very limited, and we have multiplayer tonight, and it won't be anything demo related, thankfully. So I've said my final, and multiple final points. So for either one of you, do you have any final points about festivals to end on?
Let's see. Seth, do you want to go first? You want me to go first, and then you can finish off since you're the guest?
I don't really have anything. I mean, we pretty much covered like all over the place. So
I think so. I mean, like, if I could just want to wrap it up with my final test, and I'm just going to reiterate everything you said. As Seth said, number one point, like, like quality options, like quality of life options, accessibility options, should be there. And if you don't know what it is, go research this, go check it out. And then, like, considering, let's talk about the phases of the festival, right? You're going to have a before the festival, and before then, that's when you have your menu in, and that's when you have your game ready. Download similar games from different Nextfests and like see the quality that they're achieving and see what they did. Like, watch previous coverages and research games in your market and seeing what they did maybe in previous markets. See who you might want to get to stream your game. See who you can look at that. So get all that in order, so that way you're not just lambasted on the day of the festival. Darren, you want to gather as much information as you can possible. This is your one chance to gather gaming data. Gather what people are saying. I don't like this or that. Gather as much as you can. But again, remember, this is not an alpha or a beta test. This is a soft launch, or literally just a launch, because you could be going from launch to release depending on where you are. Post, be sure, again, you gather as much information. Make sure you have an afterwards marketing campaign, because remember, there will be streamers and devs and lots of other outlets that are going to be covering the festival, because it takes time to cover all these games and get the information out. So you need to have a way for them to either download the demo, please leave your demo up, or for them to find the game and do that. Don't remove your game. That's basically it for me. Seth?
it's always put your best foot forward anytime that you're dealing with the public. So that, whether it be a demo, whether it be a 1.0, whether it be an early access, whether it be a press release, give yourself as many chances as you can.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
I think that, yep, I've said my points as well. I think you guys have also had pretty well, so I think we are good to wrap things up for this episode. This was a really solid one, and maybe by the time it goes up, I'll finish my Nextfest coverage. We'll see, or maybe we'll be in the next festival, and I can finally go mad for real there. But it has been a great conversation. We need to get a roundtable full one set up for sometime in July, so we will try to get that going. So, Seth, since you are our guest, I'll give you a chance for people watching. If they want to find you and all that, feel free to let them know about it.
So I'm all over the internet. It's a strategy informer. You can find my content on Twitter, if it still exists, on other Josh and Game Wisdom podcasts and my own podcasts, and just look for me. You can find me, Seth Goldberg, the Strategy Informer. Peace.
Yeah, and my links are down below and around, so be sure to wishlist, join the Discord. Seth, I really appreciate you coming on. It really was awesome having a guest on Saturday, and hoping to have you back next time. It was really great conversation. Josh?
Yep, it was a lot of fun. And yeah, well, hopefully we can get some of the other roundtable guests on for relevant topics as well. Again, for me, do all the YouTubing stuff, liking, subscribing. Again, check out the Discord and Patreon. There'll be links to all of Josh's and Seth's stuff down in the recorded version. We will be back next Saturday around 5 p.m. ET for our next Key to Games podcast. But with that said, everyone, I hope you have a great 4th of July weekend and all that. And come back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where you examine the art and science of games. And I almost forgot again, pre-order all my books, buy at least 114 copies of each book to represent all the demos I play. That would make me really happy.
That's right. And then for each book, wish list. And then also, while you're doing that, read the Strategy Informer. So,
Yay, thank you.
All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you next time. Until then, take care.